It's a beautiful Monday afternoon. We are here again to take a look at issues as they emanate from this great continent of ours and the program Africa Discourse. I am Wilson Marshall. You might have heard about xenophobia, xenophobic attack, and of course the aftermath of the xenophobic attack. And this time around, the president of South Africa, talking about the leader of the ANC, is trying to do what we call damage control. About the reacting to this, yes, the impact of the xenophobic attack in South Africa, because others have been talking about it, and the methodology being used by the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, to war back countries that have this disdain for South Africa. Remember when they went to Zimbabwe to bury Robert Mugabe, he was booed. While he was walking into the stadium, he was massively booed to show you that many countries in Africa, they're not really happy with him. And now he chooses to send envoys to various countries to talk to them, to try to appease their conscience, for them to have a change of heart. Do you think it is going to work? With me here in the studio, I have a lecturer. Join me to welcome Frank Amego. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you
so very much. I appreciate you coming. All right. And we are still expecting the likes of Barrister Chima Williams is on his way. When it comes, we'll have a more robust discourse.
Yes.
Now, the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, chooses to send envoys to various nations that have this grievance or what they call beef with South Africa. And this is not unrelated to the xenophobic attack. Many countries that have this bitter taste in their mouth whenever you get to hear about South Africa. Many countries choose to call back their citizens, Nigeria inclusive, from South Africa. And the story, the tales of woes being talked about by this, how will I put it now, immigrant, people that choose to leave South Africa is nothing to really write home about. When we talk about South Africa, here we are, an administration led by Cyril Ramaphosa, ANC, trying to do what we call damage control. How do you view all this?
It is rather unfortunate to start thinking about damage control. The South African president had enough time, enough information to have been able to stop these attacks. From my own perspective, I observe that this xenophobia started since 1994.
1994?
1994. Then in 2008, more than 60 non-South Africans were killed and several injured. 2008. Then in 2015, there was another upsurge. So they have had enough time to look into all this. And some of the South African officials, the way they viewed it, I don't want to pity the president at all. If your aide makes a statement that will not in any way lead to the credibility of your country, you call that officer to order. But he did not. What was common was, it was a form of criminality. They refused to look at the xenophobic aspect. It was never criminality. So I'm not going to join him. He sends all millions of convoys to any country. He had an idea before now.
He had an idea before now?
Even the major political party in South Africa called him to order. That's the Democratic Alliance. That the way this nation is going in South Africa, you will end up becoming an enemy within your own territory. It was ignored. I think it was just politically motivated. When you are listening to that opposition party declaration as to the way the xenophobic attack is going on, instead of calling it criminality, you should have called it xenophobic, so that all these damage controls have come to pass at all. No need for damage control.
No need for damage control.
There would have been no need.
All right, now you talked about the Democratic Alliance, so to speak, and of course, Ramaphosa is the leader of the ANC. Don't you think they are using to gain political relevance in South Africa for them to say, look, we've told the president before to take caution, to take action? Don't you think they're bringing in politics into this whole issue?
If bringing politics into the South African government or nation will bring about the restoration of peace and order in the country. To me, a responsible government, once you have attained that height of being president, you zero down on party politics. If your enemy told you that this road you're going to, this journey you're going to embark upon, there is a major danger ahead of you, it's common sense. You can send somebody ahead of you, find out if that is true. Don't just think, oh, it's my enemy. Anything my enemy tells me is not right. The Democratic Alliance party members, they're also part of the South African government, I mean, as a country. So these objections they raised, judging from the point of view that the way the economic challenge, it's majorly economic that led to this challenge. We have over 27% rate of unemployment, and it's growing by the day. Though some persons say is kind of laziness, that's poverty. If you have not eaten since morning for 2-3 days, you become lazy. So the laziness is traceable to the poverty. And considering where they're coming from apartheid condition. So I want to blame the attackers now if the government has listened to the people. No jobs are created.
All right. Now, talking about politics, there's this vibrant young man in the House talking about Julius. When he was called upon to really talk about this issue, he did not directly condemn these xenophobic attacks, but rather he blamed it on poverty and on employment.
Yes.
Do you think you should have come out straight to condemn it? Because before the xenophobic attack took part in that era of Pretoria, they came around to do this what they call peaceful protest, peaceful march. And then after that march, it still happened in that region. Some persons from the ANC really in support of what is happening in South Africa.
So the point is, there's a major challenge, as I said before, is poverty. It's not like a rich man is going to fight a poor man. The way a poor man fights is from the way the rich will fight. If you allow me to speak this pidgin English, the poor man fights by saying, what will kill each other? Right? Because that means nothing to him as a poor person. So for the rich, you want to fight to die. So the people you are trying to call to order, they have no food. They're not even employed. I saw on screen some of our fellow Nigerians that they were employers of the South Africans. So they're not doing anything about it. It's not political. It's just for the president to have just realized that this major challenge has to do with an in-house challenge. Create employment. Create facilities for them to be gainfully employed. You can't be in a home whereby a house help is feeding much better than you as a child of his boss. That's the way it's happening. The servants are living larger than the bona fide children of a man. So that's what is happening. If you were the son of a rich man and I'm a house help to your father, I'm riding on good cars, I live better, there's AC in my room, and there's no fan in your room, you will fight me. You can't fight your father. Because it's because your father brought me in, that's why he's treating me differently. So it's better for the child to fight the servant. That's what is happening right now.
Wow. That is what's really happening right now. Now let's take a look at what really transpired in course of the burial of Robert Mugabe. Okay. Other nationals on seeing Ramaphosa talking about the president of South Africa, they started booing him. Do you think that was a little bit too far?
Well, you don't beat a child and tell the child how and how not to cry. The problem has been created. So whatever reactions you find, you bait. If this xenophobia has not been there, and the president comes to another country, he's well honored. You can honor a president that has folded his arms to see that his own nationals will start to fight non-residents or or how do I call it now, fight those that are there from other countries. If you killed my person, and I knew you did, and you came to my house, you can't go back alive. So the reactions we saw were normal.
Normal reaction.
Normal reaction.
Even in an international engagement, as usual, that's engagement talking about a burial ceremony of a very renowned president.
No apology.
It was being booed.
It should be.
Okay, now would I say that that is like what really triggered him to start sending envoys to other countries? Is it related to that, or he has the mind to do?
What I see the president do there is, to me, it's my personal opinion, he has lost grip of governance there.
He has lost grip of governance.
Yes.
Could you please throw more light on this?
Because if you see your children do what is wrong, for instance, and you can't call them to order, then such a child has destroyed several things of your neighbor. You don't rise up after work and say, oh, I'm sorry, I learned my child destroyed your property, I'm sorry. You are like the father of wayward children. So he had all the means within his power to have put all of these things aside. Attend to to South Africans. Attend to them. If you look at by population, there are about 50 million. And non-nationals are about 3.6 million. So why are you not scared of just 3.6 in the midst of 50 million? So the 3.6 million of other nationals that are there should not create a threat for 50 million above. So they are looking at South Africa as being hijacked. And there's no right-thinking person that will accept it. This is my country. I can't drive a good car. I can't live a good home. You are doing all this to my detriment, so you better leave. And I'm sure when you leave, we'll have access to all of these things. That's why I see what's happening here. That's what I see there.
All right, now talking about damage control, which the president of South Africa is trying to do you see countries falling in line to his scheme, to his tactics, sending personalities, the ambassadors to go to various countries that have been hurt by the xenophobic attack to reassure them of South Africa's commitment to the agreement they had, talking about the socio-economic agreement between nations in Africa? Do you see countries responding positively to his, how would I put it now, envoys that will be coming to various countries?
That idea is rather belated.
Belated?
Belated. They'll tell us once beaten, twice shy. As I said not quite long, this attack started in 1994. If you check it graphically, from 94 to last year, for instance, in 2008, several North South Africans were killed in that country. Then the thing went down a little bit and rose up sharply in 2015, just 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. So these attacks have been there. What the president of South Africa is doing now was what should have done much earlier. You know the people you are leading. Anybody can be violent. Any human being can be violent. As we almost say, if you push a goat to the wall, it may bite. So these persons have looked at their lives, that either we'll die in driving this part of our country, or we will lose our lives. They are ready to be attacked by their soldiers. There was a year the soldiers will try to intervene. But they won't give up. They are well below poverty line. If you look at their faces on the screen, it's not like these ones are hungry. They're hungry. It takes a poor man to come out publicly without integrity to go and fight. They don't have integrity anymore. They don't care. The government has no control over them right now. So to send envoys around the country or around the world cannot solve anything. Is it in Nigeria or send an envoy to Nigeria and we are sorry? When we have gone to bring back some of our citizens, no, nobody will do that. The send of envoy is just an afterthought. He didn't really mean it. He's just protecting himself so that the world will not look at him as being sensitive. It's just a reactionary thing.
The reaction.
Yes.
Before coming to the way Nigerians are taking care of their South African returnees, now let's go back again to Cyril Ramaphosa. Now he has been making moves.
Yes.
Trying to clean, or will I say rebrand or redress the image of South Africa. And here we are also, you can't talk about a particular administration without politics. Do you see his party coming out tops after these xenophobic attacks and series of xenophobic attacks?
Even with a telescope, you can't even foresee his party coming up again. With a telescope, you can't see it. Because what is going on is not between South Africa and Nigeria, two countries. The three neighboring countries, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, and one other one like that.
Yeah.
And Chinese, once you are a non-South African, they attack. It's not just Nigerians they are attacking. Nigerian population is very minimal compared to what we have from Zimbabwe, Lesotho, some other countries. So that party now is going to sit back, maybe subsequently, not in the nearest future, that it can win the major elections again.
But don't you think this big attack will boost the popularity of the party ANC
Negatively?
Because for what opponents are saying, they are like saying that ANC allegedly seems to be behind what is happening in South Africa, talking about the xenophobic attacks.
They are not. This challenge is not political at all. There's no politics involved.
No politics involved.
We are talking about poverty. There's no politics in poverty. You have not eaten, you have not eaten. It has nothing to do with any form of politicization of any activity. People are hungry. They are underemployed, those that are not employed at all. A lot of them are not employed. So if you go to some places in Nigeria now, I don't want to mention names, like somewhere in Lagos, can I say Ajegunle, for instance, you come across some criminally minded persons. And if you get closer to them, if they explain to you how they got to this mess, you will pity them. Nobody cared for them. So there's no one human being that will just wake up and want to live in poverty. So once somebody is poor, they can think of any negative thing. So to me, I'm still hammering on poverty. Low economy, very poor economy. So the president has to show to the world is that like window dressing, that all is well. All is not well. Let the better candidate emerge as the president. This one has failed, and he has failed the country.
He has failed, and he has failed South Africa.
There's no image to repair. No more image. It's only when the image is still there cracked, they're going to fix it. There's no image again.
Wow. From what he said there is no image again to fix. There's no image to repair. Ramaphosa's damage control scheme may just be what it sounds like, but will not have any impact. We want to go for a break. When we return, we'll take a look at how some countries are treating their South African returnees. Then we'll take a look also at the way forward to forestall these from happening. Are sanctions necessary, or should it be meted on South Africa for what is happening in South Africa? We'll be right back after this break. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is Africa Discourse. Mind you, maybe you just missed out of it. Not to worry. Just go to our YouTube channel. You're going to see what we talked on there. You can comment on it and tell us what you feel about the topic. And of course, you can tweet at us at ITV Radio NG, or my own Twitter handle at Marshall Wilson. We'll get communicating, we'll get interactive. But we have live stream. All you need to log on to www.itvradioNigeria.com/live. You get to see what we're doing right here in the studio live. Or you have your Star Times bouquet, channel 130, your Go TV, channel 107. Just tune in and we'll get talking, because you get to see what we are talking about or doing. We're taking a look at the xenophobic attack from Ramaphosa's damage control scheme. Is it going to work? Sending envoy. Now, with me here in the studio is Frank Amego, a lecturer at Uniben. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you.
Now, damage control is on right now. Envoys are being sent, and some countries are receiving mates peacefully, while others are saying, no, this is not going to be the end of it. We will do one or two things to make you feel the pang also of what you did to our people. Let's come back home. Some of them have been sent back from South Africa. They volunteer to come back. How do you view the way they've been treated?
right in Nigeria?
Yes.
That's the second leg of our crisis. Thanks to the Peace Airline that brought them to Nigeria. He has done his bit. But our federal government, I wonder what's going to be the next stage now. That you'll be giving them, is it 14,000 naira worth of airtime? To do what with? To call their friends in Nigeria, Lagos, Ibadan, Sokoto, of my ordeal. I just came back from South Africa, I was deported. Or Airpeace brought us back to Nigeria. I'm somewhere. So the 40,000 naira for what? They have not done anything. That's nothing. If you're going to bring them back to Nigeria, those that have skills, you engage them. Those that don't have, you train them up. Nothing like that. And for any of us that they came to meet back in Nigeria now, for them to think, those that came from South Africa, their life is going to be better, that's another life in the jungle they're going to be faced with. The reason is because Nigeria isn't doing well. They've left Nigeria. They didn't leave Nigeria just to explore, let's go and find out what's happening in South Africa. Things are not happening here. If the Nigerian government shows some level of seriousness, we would have just set up an industry. These persons are going to bring back from South Africa to Nigeria, we're going to engage them. Not while they brought a lot of persons from, this African country, what do you call it?
Libya.
Libya. They are roaming around the streets. They are doing nothing. They're doing nothing. So bringing them to Nigeria has not solved any problem. Though some had challenges, they were even living the right kind of life they wanted to live in South Africa. So it was a great relief for them. Let me come back home and see my people. But right now, back to Nigeria, they can't even fit in.
So what do the government should do right now for them?
The government should help every Nigerian citizen. Not just target those that came back from South Africa, accommodate them for a while in a hotel. After some weeks, where are you from? Igbo, Yoruba, Benin, okay, go back to your states. To do what? And I tell you, if those ones gather money again, they'll run back to South Africa. They will run back. Wow. There's nothing happening in Nigeria right now.
That's your own opinion.
My opinion.
Your own opinion.
Obviously
because
so.
People will differ in their opinion.
They differ maybe to protect the party they belong to. Nothing is happening in Nigeria right now. You are given a salary at the end of the month. In 2-3 days, the money is gone. You provide your light, provide your water, provide security. Anything that goes wrong with your community, you have to fix it. So these persons that have had light almost 24 hours every day in South Africa, they will come back to Nigeria where there will be light for 1 hour, you'll be thanking God. How would they fit in? The only way to encourage them to come back to Nigeria is for those outside Nigeria to see Nigeria coming up in terms of development. There's no development going on. A particular road is fixed, is shown on TV as if they've done us some good. It's your duty to fix roads. You can't pay your child's school fees and you will go out to your neighborhood and be shouting, I've paid my child's school fees. It's your duty. So the government is not responsive enough to the cry of its citizenry. It's unfortunate. So I pity those that have come back to Nigeria.
So what do you think they should do?
Well, the challenge they had in South Africa, not all around South Africa, Johannesburg and 2 or 3 places. So if they have their way, I'm sure they would have loved to go to another country. I think so.
All right.
Yes.
Now, let's take the issue of Nigeria take care of the South African returnees, because we have that of Libya also. Now, South Africa, it's not too much for the government, or they should have done something quickly or quicker enough, even before this time. Anyway, that is another kettle of fish. Now, let's take a look at the response of the African Union on this particular issue. What do you feel about the response? Are they even responding to this xenophobic attack?
Yes, the African Union, from the few statistics I've mentioned, is a global thing. They are aware that the president of South Africa has done little or nothing to curtail those attacks. First, to find out the remote or immediate causes of those South Africans attacking other nationals. They have not done that. It will surprise you to know that South Africa does not have or does not keep records of these attacks. They don't have the records. I tried, checked. No record in South Africa of number of persons killed. As I said, from 1994 to today, they don't have the records. They don't have it. So if you wanted to take care of these attacks of foreign nationals, you take the statistics and discover that in so-so place, this is the peculiarity there, and let's go and arrest it. There was nothing like that. It was also shown on screen that some of the South African policemen were even joining them to loot.
Yeah, these are just allegations.
I saw it.
These are just allegations.
It's there. It's still there. It's there. So even the person you are trying to say, okay, enforce the laws, is hungry too. He's hungry. Two hungry persons, one is uniformed, the other is not uniformed, and they have seen a common thing to steal. You ignore your uniform and take it. Poverty can lead to so many things. So let the government of South Africa take care of poverty.
All right, now, should the African Union sanction South Africa? If yes, through what means?
Sanctioning should be the president, not even the South Africans. Poor economic policies. When you see your GDP nosediving, you are not bothered. People complaining, protests here and there, you are not bothered. So if you sanction South Africa, the president will be affected as a person. So they can invite him on a round table talk to tell the African Union if he lacks the ideas or what it takes to govern a nation, he should tell them. Or possible areas of assistance should be given him. There's no shame in it. This thing, I thought I could do it. But when I got there, I discovered that it was a different game entirely. So please, can you help me? His colleagues will help him out from other countries in Africa.
So what you're saying that they cannot sanction them, is that what you're saying?
If they sanction South Africa.
But can they sanction South Africa?
They can. If they do, but the person creating the problem for them is the president.
The president how?
Because it's the policy it places on the table that you can implement. If people are complaining about poor social facilities and you are not listening to them, the next thing, if you don't give us light, we're going to do this. If you don't give us roads, we're going to do this. And you discover that truly, whatever allegations they are making against the country is true, they try to fix it. So the president can never take a major step now. Ordinarily, look at what happened in Nigeria. Thank God for that. The Nigerian president said, no need to fight back. Religious leaders said, no need to fight back. And we're not fighting back. So the president does not have that integrity to call his citizens to order. They won't listen to him. As this thing continued now, the people creating the attacks are not relenting. They are still doing it every day. The president cannot even call them to order. You call a child to order that you have fed very well. If you have not fed a child, and you tell the child, go and get this for me, he won't listen to you. So now let me do this house. A child will say that because he's not getting anything. A child can start crying. Just say, I won't take you out this weekend. The child will be crying. You don't have to beat up that child. But what we are saying now is a failure of government of South Africa. It's a failure.
Well, failure of government of South Africa, xenophobic attack, Ramaphosa's damage control scheme. He's trying to reach out to many countries, but the response he's getting is not quite encouraging. Now, talking about the AU, from what you said, from your own analysis, this is started, according to your own analysis, since 1994.
Yes.
And the AU hasn't done anything about it. Do you think this may lead to the disintegration of the Union, knowing fully well that if something paramount is affecting the continent, you're just there, doing nothing about it? And this one was seeing on the screen, Ramaphosa is trying to see if he can really bring the country together. And you are saying it's not enough. With this crisis rocking South Africa without the AU interfering, interceding, or even acting to really stop it, is that the beginning of the end of the African Union?
The AU has tried in every way to interface. South Africa is a sovereign nation. You don't impose a thing on them. They will tell you that's the way we are, and that's the way we want to live. Every country has its own freedom to come up with its own constitution. But why the AU cannot forcefully intervene is against AU ethics. Like our president, for instance, he would have, I'm sure he sent some envoys there too, to find out what is happening. And when they came back, they gave a report, and the best thing was, let's go and bring them back. But if the government of South Africa sat with Nigerian delegates to tell the delegates that these things were on top of the situation, but the reports they got, the body language, so that you're on your own, don't you have to go and evacuate them. The South African president is not ready. You're sending convoys everywhere. Are you saying we should bring back Nigerians to South Africa? If they go back there, the same crisis. So peaceful talk does not settle anything. I thought I said to handle damage, by damage control. There's nothing there again, no image to control. There's no image again. If, as different countries try to discuss with you, and you give them some reasons for their nationals to stay back, they would have stayed back. What he said was not matched with action. He said there was no need for any South African to start attacking other foreign nationals. He just said so, just for the public to listen to. But there was nothing on ground to really prevent that. Wherever these poor South Africans are, you should know them. You should send social things there, food, clothes, and all that. Nothing was sent to them. That's also so similar to what we have in Nigeria here. Boko Haram and herdsmen. They are not been properly settled. Settle them, they will relax. They have things in mind they want to put across to the nation, and you are ignoring them. If the government of South Africa had tried before now to provide all the necessary amenities, I don't think they'll come to the streets. I don't think so. And over the years, they are emotionally down. Psychological problem linked to a psychiatric problem. They're just attacking people that are not from your locality. It's psychiatric. One of the causes or one of the outcomes of poverty. You don't see your next neighbor as a human being. You won't just kill him and take his property. That's psychiatric.
So like, a mental ailment occasioned by poverty.
Yes. And the president should be on the situation to arrest all that. A time will come, all the foreign nationals will leave. Leave the country for you. The same crisis will continue.
So what you're saying now, South Africa should be blacklisted, is all to say, because right now it's like no positive thing is coming out from the angle of the government. From what they said, some persons have been arrested. Nobody heard about persecution.
Yeah, nobody.
Of those persons. So should that country be blacklisted?
That would be the easiest thing to be done. And by that, his own political party would have lost out. It's not, to me now, they should have party chieftains there. They should have called the president to order. This was what we discussed. How do we help salvage this country? I've not seen anywhere where that kind of discussion has held. Or call on other African presidents. Help us. Like what we're trying to do in Nigeria, neighboring countries, Niger, Chad, let's join forces to fight this terrorism. But he hasn't done anything. Zimbabwe is just a neighboring country. Lesotho is there. He has not called them in. What do we do? The fight Zimbabwe are having against South Africa, their own country in Zimbabwe, is even something that the worst system should intervene. They are even killing more South Africans than they have ever killed Zimbabweans. But there's no country that don't have other nationalities. There's no country. So the president, to me, is at the center of this crisis.
All right, now, if South Africa is to be blacklisted,
yes,
who stands to gain and who stands to lose after they're saying leave? Don't you think they'll be the one to gain in this regard?
They're not getting anything. If the touts in your community are killing foreigners, and now the foreigners are gone, the touts will continue in their touting. They will fight the government, fight their own people, and the problem continues. So to me, if it is possible, the president should just resign.
Ramaphosa resigned.
He should resign.
Do you see him resigning?
Because he didn't meet this crisis on ground. It's in his tenure that we're having such crisis. He should resign. Africans don't know how to resign. Elsewhere, in other continents, he says, oh, I'm resigning. And resignation does not mean that the person is a fool.
But with him resigning, is he going to solve anything?
Because there's no attempt to solve anything.
Okay, I talk about him resigning. Is it going to solve anything, even if he should decide
there are better
to resign?
persons. There are better persons that can handle that situation. There's no willpower. I've not seen it. I don't know whether you have seen it. That the president is putting in to ensure that this crisis is abated a little bit. There's no measure in place. It's like giving a heavy load to a child to carry. And ask the child, is the load heavy? He said, no, just I have neck pain. The neck pain is from the heavy load. So the president is not complaining. People should help him. He needs help. That's why I say he should resign.
Now, with the action of other countries, talk about Zimbabwe, Tanzania, and the rest of them, Mozambique killing South Africans in their own countries, is that the right reaction?
That's not the right thing.
To the big attack.
It's not the right thing.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to that fight
retaliation.
Back. Yeah, I don't subscribe to it. Most as a Christian. Those you are fighting in your country, that they fought your people in their country, they didn't do anything. South Africans in Zimbabwe, did they fight your people? No, they didn't fight anybody. So they just retaliate like that. If you want to retaliate, take your weapons to South Africa and start fighting them.
In their own land?
In their own land. That means you have to retaliate. These ones have not done anything.
But that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the point. So instead of killing South Africans in your countries, it doesn't make sense like that.
Now, what do you think should be the best method to send a strong message other than killing, destroying South African properties in other countries? What do you think should best be done to make South Africa also have a kind of a rethink in what is happening in that country vis-a-vis xenophobic attacks?
They can learn from Nigeria. Nigeria is not fighting back. Nigeria is a safe place, in quotes, because the few miscreants we had in Lagos and Akwa Ibom, some of who were arrested. But in South Africa, those attacking non-nationals have not been arrested. Nigerian government arrested some persons that attempted to destroy facilities of South Africans in Nigeria. So they should take a cue from Nigeria, that these persons you are fighting, we also have our brothers and sisters in their countries, and they're not fighting them. So let's sit down and have a rethink. They're not thinking along that line at all. So if they handle the country, South Africa, very well, those fighting won't fight again. I'm very sure of that. Very optimistic. The fight continues. Sanction or no sanction, the fight continues. Because the government is not ready to do the needful. It's not ready.
So, to call it a wrap on the show, what do you think each country affected, one way or the other, should do to curb this? For what you said, the government is ready to do anything. Some countries are fighting back, while others are just akimbo, looking, watching. What do you think should be done in this situation?
As far as South Africa is concerned?
Yes. And of course, other countries.
Yeah, well, I don't have much information about other countries that have been so affected. But for Nigeria, Nigeria took the best step. Government took the right step. Religious leaders, the same right step they took. So if the religious leaders in South Africa can come in, advise the government, go on air, these people, they go to churches or they worship one way or the other, let their religious leaders counsel them. The other countries that are retaliating, they should also learn from what is happening in Nigeria. That fighting back won't solve anything. Won't solve anything at all.
So what should be done in this case?
What should be done is sheath your swords. Government of South Africa, attend to your people. Let that step be taken first. If that step is taken, you see a gradual withdrawal. Years back in Benin City, where they demystified the idea of water or no water. I grew up in Benin to understand that at the time the water board would not pump water, rightly or wrongly. So people would take their jerry cans and buckets to the river, tread long distances, take their baths there, fetch water, and come back home. Some, in an attempt to swim in the river, would die there. And start giving some necessary conclusions that Mami water took over the person. So, but right now, there's hardly a community that don't have boreholes. And right now, if your borehole is bad, you go to the next compound and fetch, or even buy. So nobody goes to the river to fetch water again. So if there are spirits in the river there, they should start eating the fishes and other sea animals. So right now, if amenities are provided, I believe, I don't know how to really put this across, there is no way those persons will do what they are doing now again. They won't do it. They will never do it.
Wow. They should check poverty, that's
Check
all.
poverty.
That's the solution to all these xenophobic attacks. Anyway, you've heard him. We have so much to do in the studio, and you heard, yes, a lecturer at the University of Benin talking about Frank Amego, talking so much on the damage control by Cyril Ramaphosa. Yes, he has sent envoys to other countries that were affected in the xenophobic attacks in South Africa, trying to tell them to please calm down, that everything is under control. But from what they are saying, it has not been fixed. And of course, my analyst attested to that. But he said if they can put things in order, talking about amenities and reduction of poverty, xenophobia would be a thing of the past. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on today's show.
Thanks.
I appreciate your comment, sir. I really appreciate your comment.
Thanks so much.
All right. See you tomorrow, God willing, on International Forum. Bye for now.